Hi.
Can you see me? How you going?
Yeah, of course. Oh, good, good. It's always a good day to do a podcast.
Isn't it? That's right. You can do it in any weather, raining or sunny
Yes.
or whatever. If it was, it's not
Yes.
actually this sunny. Behind me, it's actually raining, but I'm in Queensland. It's been raining for 6 months. So welcome to episode 6 of my podcast. And we're going to talk about doing collaborations with other agencies and buyers agents, and that's where I'd like to bring you into the mix, and so you can explain to our fast starters and $1 million agents what your buyers need and what you need from commercial agents. So just to get a bit of background, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into commercial real estate, please?
Yeah. I started investing in commercial real estate in 2012. I started educating people on how to invest in commercial real estate in 2016. I was, and I am still today, the only educator in the commercial property space that actually will do live events and go out and actually educate people around Australia on it. We've got a very successful community of over 4,000 members that have participated in either our buyers agency program or our education program. So, and I mentor and coach in a lot of business groups on commercial property. So I got into it purely because I needed cash flow and the numbers made more sense than investing in residential.
Lovely. And so your background prior to that, did you have, how were you exposed to commercial property? Because it's something that a lot of people don't understand as far as an investing platform.
I was a beauty therapist before then, and I started investing in commercial property because I was I was a tenant, and then I realized that how good a tenant I am, and that maybe I should be a landlord to myself, right? Or to another tenant just like me. And that's how I started.
Wow. And so you just built up your own portfolio and learnt the ropes the hard way?
Built up my own portfolio. Yep. There was no books on commercial property when I started. Everything was about the States and it was very not relevant to the Australian market. So I basically got out there and started doing deals and started learning.
Right. And when you started and you were looking for investment property, what were the agents like to deal with? And how long ago was that? So we can just get a time perspective.
10 years
you
ago.
Look like so you're 12, Helen. You look like you're only 12 years old.
No, early 40s, but no 12. But, you know, I could easily, wish 10 years. 12. It'll be, if I take off 12 years from my current age, I'll be very happy. But, but I think, look, I don't think the industry has changed much since I became an investor to now. I started it was a very male predominantly run industry, still is today. It's dominated by very large institutions, and I think people come through that, and that's the brand people identify with. There's a lot more I think that's happened over COVID, that a lot of people have broken out into their own small agencies, which I think it's great. I also think that when I started, you were an outsider until you bought your first property. No one talked about commercial property. They basically treat me like an idiot at the beginning of it until I bought my first property and proved myself on my first purchase. Yeah. And my clients go through the same experience today. So, it's not like it got any better. Sometimes when I literally have spoken to one of our clients who became a client because no agents will speak to her. She said, I became a client, I want to join you because she spoke to one of my clients who bought in the same building that she has a warehouse and she's operating her business. And she said, I'm on the same strata committee. He referred you and now I'm one of your clients, because purely she was in her older years. So she was a lady in her 60s, and she said, I had some money come from the business and I want to buy a commercial property investment. Like, I'm a good tenant, why can't I invest? But no agents will give me a call back because they don't think I'm serious because of my age. But I literally have a couple of $1 million sticking in the bank ready to buy a property, and no one will call me back, right? So it's just the industry hasn't changed.
No, I agree. And I think it still happens today. And if you're a female and you're phoning up and you're talking to agents, I have clients that ring me and say they just won't help me. So, and that's coming from being an agent who's on the other side of the fence to yourself, because obviously clearly you're the buyer's agent, so you're dealing with the commercial agent. So it's fair to say you're still experiencing that it's a bit of a boys' club and they're fairly hard to communicate with, or what do you think's missing the most?
Absolutely. Look, I think the thing is, I have a very my personality is very boisterous, so for me, it doesn't faze me. And I think one of the things I do love about commercial real estate is that boys don't get offended. You just tell it as it is. And some days I do have we do tell them as it is. And like, the vendor's been a dick, or that this is not, it's not working. You've got to try harder. You're just going to go, this is what you need to do. You need to go back to your vendor and tell them that, this is the current situation, right? And sometimes you can have that kind of conversation and be open. I think for the newbies that are in this market, like now we're sort of more seasoned now because, you and I have been in this for a while, but we get some new younger males come in and you speak to them and they're like, their sensibilities get a bit, offended. But I think that it's just if you're a buyer's agent, you're there for the client, and a lot of our clients are ethnic clients or or female clients or older female clients or older male clients. But we actually cover a lot of the demographics that I guess that resounds with who I am, as an investor, who might be the first generation migrant or the second generation, and they're looking to place that money. So they're not the easiest to deal with, because a lot of them come with their own cultural beliefs, cultural differences, and I think that also makes it harder for them to get into the industry, because agents don't accommodate for that. Right? They don't go, oh well, that's the way they behave. They just go, why is these people are tie kickers? Well, some of them are tie kickers. Some of them, that's just how they behave culturally. So, it's just having an understanding and some kind of empathy of the difference.
Oh, I always have the same theory that, some don't ever disregard somebody that you would consider a tie kicker, because they'll buy something eventually. You just have to keep taking them along for the ride, because if they're seriously, people don't muck around as a pastime looking at commercial property. It's not something that, it's not that well known. So if they're calling you about something, they know a little bit about it already. So that person eventually will be able to turn them into a client. Is that how you feel too? Or do you sort of screen? How do you screen out?
We've got a process where we take the clients through an education process. And through the education process, we understand what they're looking for, and we can see if we can match our services to them.
Okay.
So if we can match our services to what they're looking for and we can generally help them, we'd bring them on as a client. And once we bring them on as a client, we know that they're genuine, because they've paid a deposit to be part of our service, or they've paid a deposit or have joined our education group. So we know that they're not tie kickers, they're ready to go. So we work a little bit differently in that our clients know their strategy. They know where they're buying 1, 2, or 3. They know what they're looking for. And we simply are out there canvassing the property that matches the criteria that we previously discussed with them.
Sure. So when you get down to the buying process and you know what your client's looking for, and then you're getting in touch with the commercial agent, do you have authority to sign off on offers for your clients, or do they have to vet everything, or are you taking more control away from them? Or
so we will present the property. We present the property to them, and then we make a recommendation how the offer should be. And they normally say, "Yep, that's fine. Go with your offer." And we go through that offer process, and we take over the negotiation process from them. If there is certain things where obviously when it comes back with a counter offer, we would go back to them and discuss it with them. But we are at the front foot of most things.
Yep. Okay, cool. So you have a good relationship with a bunch of commercial agents, I imagine, in your area. And are they consistently feeding stock across? What's the stock like at the moment? Is it hard to get a good investment property? What are the parameters that you need to have when you're actually presenting property?
So we're actually, because we are not your traditional buyer's agent, because we offer in our business education, syndication, and buyer's agency, we have a construction part of the business as well. So what we can do is we actually cater for a lot of developers who are coming from the residential space, who are looking for something that are vacant with an uplift, or something that are run down, which normally your buyer's agent is buying stock that is, your set and forget type of stock that's perfect for the investor. Well, our investor comes in all shapes and sizes. We've got investors who will buy shopping strip malls. We've got investors who will, who are, 3 or 4 doctors coming together to buy a medical center. We've got developers who are looking for something that they can have actively, it doesn't matter the yield right now, but it's the yield in the future and what they can develop. And we've got people who just want to do their simple flips. So we just find them something that is, a bit run down, that needs a bit of refurbishment, that traditionally you might find it harder to sell to really either an owner occupier or an investor, because it's neither here or there. We can take it on board and go, hey, this is what we see as the potential. You should buy it. What will let us help you, walk you through the process.
Wow. So it's not just your typical passive investment, 5 by 5 year lease. The tenant's not going anywhere, and you could put it in a box and package it up. So that's not your business agenda. It's
no,
quite a broad
we have clients like that. We have clients like that, but we can pretty much take anything. You give us something under, say, 2 million, right, which is most of our client base. We do have clients above that, but let's say you give us something under 2 million and you say, look, this is a little bit odd. And this is the one thing that we have built such a strong relationship with agents, is that they call us with stock that we think this is a potential stock, but we're actually not even sure, right? What do you think? Do you have a buyer for it? And I would look through our database and then come back to them and say, hey, I think we could put a deal together if you change this, and this metrics. Can you go back to the vendor and have a chat to them about this? And I think I can bring the buyer onto these things, and then I see that what they can do in the future. Right. So
I've got a shopping centre for you, Helen. Remind me after we stop recording. I'm going to send you a property I've got. Sorry.
Absolutely. We've got a Chinese buyer at the moment who are looking for shopping centres. So like I said, we cover a lot of the ethnic demographic as well, because my YouTube channel, so it has a lot of information that a lot of people go to, and then they come and seek us out, because I think that the more educated your investor is, the easier it is actually for you as an agent. We're actually doing you guys a service by educating the client. The more ignorant the client is, the worse they are in a commercial purchase.
Absolutely. And
that's what our experience is.
They just need someone to hold their hand, right? And that some of the agents are really bad at that. I find that, that's my kind of secret sauce where I can add value, is I don't let anybody go through it alone. But if you're buying it off a corporate and they're just trying to churn out the numbers, often they just leave the buyers to their own resources. But you guys are clearly doing that too, where you're making sure that they know the process and they know the steps, and because I always say that you don't ever let a deal go on its own, because it'll die. You need to hold its hand all the way through, and you get those clients for life, right? So
you do.
Yeah. Sorry, can you just explain to our audience why or how the buyer's agent structure works? So, and how you actually get retained by the buyer, and there's no sort of splitting commissions with the agents, and there's no kind of conflict of interest.
Okay. Yep, that's fine. So we represent. You can only represent one. You can only represent one party, right? Ultimately, you can't represent everybody, and that's really what we think is. We don't get. We don't split commissions with agents. I know that other companies do, other buyers agents do. I know that they get approached, and sometimes we talk to them and they go, oh, do you want to split the commission? And we actually, in the beginning, I was actually taken aback, because I was like, who? Really? No. To be ethical, you can only take money from one side, right?
Yeah, I think it's against the law at some level. It's a total conflict of interest.
Yeah. So, and if you're have an interest in the property, or you got to declare it, right? So we always say we work for the buyer, we don't work for the seller. So therefore, We don't take money from the seller. And our idea is purely to get and guide our clients into the right deal so that they can do it again. And we want them to have a good experience so that they can do it again. So we hope, I mean, that's what I always look at, is that every time I talk to an agent, I say to them, don't look at us as, we're the buyer and you're the seller, right? We're not opposite ends. We're actually coming together to try to do a deal. You actually have to help us get the deal across, and we have to help you find with the buyer, right? Yes, I know there's buyers that are plentiful out there in this market, but the market's not going to be here forever. Don't be short-sighted to go, all right, the market's a seller's market for the next 12 months. But if you're in real estate, you're going to be here for 5 years. You're going to be here for 10 years. We're still going to be here after the seller's market has changed. We're still going to be here, when it's a buyer's market. But at the end of the day, if you build a relationship with us, you can bring us a property off market, or we would say to you, look, we've got a client in this area who's looking for this type of property. We would rather you get it than someone else.
Oh, look, I think buyers agents are a dream, because you're putting a team of people together to get the deal across the line, because it kind of takes the pain out of having to manage both sides of it. And really, as commercial agents, we should be working for the vendor and looking after the vendor's interest and trying to make the deal come together. So the relationship between the buyer's agents, I actually really enjoy working with buyer's agents, and I have done a bunch of stuff with Rethink historically.
Yeah.
Obviously, hopefully you and I will have a lot of
hopefully
through in the future. But it's just one of those things that 10 years ago, you never heard of a buyer's agent. It was something that you wondered what the agenda was and how they got into it. And I always wondered how you actually got the clients, because I know that a lot of them charge fees up front. And I thought, wow, they're really good at this, because we only get paid when the deal's done.
Yeah, look, we do it through our education funnel. We invest a lot in live events, education. That's how we get our clients. Our clients are a community, so we do a lot of events. So we do boot camps, we do meetups, we do all of those things, just so that our client database continues to learn.
That's
right?
so interesting.
So that's
such a good
and we go on.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, it's such a good service for your buyers, because you can educate them. And people just often don't do things because they don't understand it. And if you've taken that pain out of it, then it's easier to get them into the market, isn't it? So what's your biggest platform for advertising to actually try and find new clients for your business?
So believe it or not, my podcast, my YouTube brings me a lot of people.
Okay.
On top of that, we do advertising on Facebook, and we get a lot of referrals.
So what's your YouTube channel called? How do we find you?
Oh, yeah. So it's Commercial Property Roadshow with Helen Tarrant.
Lovely. All right. Awesome. Well, I'll put it in the notes in the podcast so that people can find you. And what else can we talk about? So when you're dealing with commercial agents, what's the biggest mistakes they're making, do you think?
I think the thing is that for us, I guess it's hard I'm trying to think through my head all these people I've dealt with and what else some of the big mistakes. But I think the main thing is to be really upfront. Just be upfront. There's nothing wrong with just being upfront with us and saying, hey, the vendor was here. If this deal is not going to be done, it can't be done. This is their baseline. Or that, look, this is what's wrong with the property. I think in the commercial space, we're going to find it through due diligence anyway. So there's no point in not, just being upfront, totally upfront. And we've had great relationships with every agent who's basically said upfront, this is what it is, and we've been able to make it work.
Excellent advice, because I think, you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig, right? People should tell you about that up front. And it saves a lot of time too, because people chew into their due diligence and then they run out of time and the deal falls over. What's the point of that? It's time is so precious then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. So what else can we talk about?
Well, I unfortunately have to go to it. Yeah, well, I have to dash off to another appointment, but the main thing before I go is that to say that, look, buyer's agent, if you have good alliances with them, they can actually serve as a mentor for you to find the right stock, especially for young people starting out in the industry. For women, if you align yourself with a company like us, Unicorn Commercial Property, where we're run by women, and it's a predominantly woman-centric business. You actually and you joined the community. It actually going to return back to you tenfold, right? And that is the key, is to build that relationship. Then it's actually easy for you, right? For some agents, we've moved every single stock they had. Right? Doesn't matter if it's a $5 million property or a $300,000 property. We've moved every single stock they have, right? So it's like, well,
doing their work.
We're doing their work. They don't need to actually ever show it to someone else. They basically like, here it is, and we go, this is who it is, and this is what you need to do to make this deal work. And they go, sure. Yeah. And then you help us get the due diligence done. You help us with get all the information. You help us speed through things, and we help you with speeding up, with working with the client and everything, and everybody wins.
Perfect. That sounds great. And before you go, Helen, I know you've got to rush off, but can you tell us what your secret sauce is? What makes you different from everyone else?
I think what makes us different, everybody else, is firstly, and I hate it, is that we look at the big picture for our client. So we wouldn't put them into a property if we didn't think that property is going to generally give them more returns in the future than what they currently have or what their currently pathway is. But also that property has to enable them to buy their second property and their third property and continue to build their portfolio. Okay. So we want to close the deal for our client, but we want to close it at the right price rather than just closing the deal.
For the sake of it. Never do a bad deal. It always bites you.
No, that's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And let's hope to do a deal very soon in the future together. And and we'll definitely look you up on your YouTube channel. And I'll make sure it's in the information below. But you have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Look, send me anything you've got. Send me your stock and I'll have a look at it. Thank you.
I will, for sure. Absolutely. Bye.